Barbara Ress is a former Trump Organization executive vice president. She's also an attorney, engineer, and the author of Tower of Lies, What My 18 Years of Working with Donald Trump Reveals About Him. Barbara, you know, the public has gotten used to a rinse, wash, and repeat cycle with Trump in which he is let off the hook, including by many Republicans who see no evil, hear no evil, and embrace conspiracies and election lies in the wake of January 6th, as you know all too well. Based on what you know about how the Trump Organization works, do you think that Donald Trump himself is in legal jeopardy here? What do you see happening this week?
It depends on what they have and what they're going after. You know, I hear them talk about going after the Trump Organization, but the Trump Organization is not General Motors. It was just a kind of loose thing that we called ourselves, and I think it was incorporated, but later after I started there. I'm sure that every operation that he has is held in a separate holding company or an LLC. So I'm not exactly sure what entities or where they're going with this. Now, as far as Trump is concerned, if they were to get evidence against Trump, it would be to the extent that really nothing major has ever happened to my knowledge. And this is confirmed by other people that worked with him much later, that he doesn't know about. Nothing major. So he is in this with his, both legs. And I think that if they get something, it'll be to go after Trump. Weisselberg, I'm surprised he's not talking. I don't understand. He can't get a pardon. I mean, that sort of explains some of the other people. But Trump has something on him, I would imagine. That's the only thing I can think of. And if he does consider, refusing to flip, and the expression flip implies guilt. I mean, why would Trump say, oh, he won't flip? Of course, if flip, that means he's got something. Then he deserves to go to jail for a long time.
And CNN tried to get him on the record about this yesterday. Let's listen to that, Barbara.
Is there any information that you would like to give us regarding the case?
No comment.
Do you currently pay taxes on the apartment or car that you own?
No comment. Nice.
Okay.
Sometimes the questions aren't very nice. As you know, Weisselberg's cooperation could be a turning point in this investigation. How valuable would Weisselberg be, do you think, knowing what you know about the organization?
Well, in its present form, Weisselberg is probably the most informed person there, the person that knows the most. As they say, bodies are buried. I think that Allen is essential. They did interview Jeff McConney, who works for Allen. He's the controller, they call him. And he probably had a lot of information. He may have had information on Allen and Trump, both. So, it's hard to say. They play it close to the vest. You don't know what they have. But Allen is definitely the key guy.
And Barbara, knowing what you know about Donald Trump after all of these years, do you think he belongs in jail?
It's not only what I knew of his personality and the way that he operates, but what I've observed over, 20 years or really the last 5 or 6. Certainly. I mean, that's an opinion of a citizen, not even somebody that knows Trump. But I do know him, and I know that he's very deliberate, very measured, and very vengeful. And he doesn't follow the rules. He never did follow the rules. So does he deserve to go to jail? I imagine he does.
Are you surprised by what happened on January 6th and everything that's happened after that?
I was horrified by it. I didn't expect anything like that. What happened afterwards is just a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. And now, in retrospect, it looks like Trump and other Republicans may have very well been involved in that insurrection, as we call it. We'll see.